Welcome to a Hoops and Dreams podcast. Before we get any further into this episode, I would like to make a special mention about Ian Lambert. Ian is a long-time QPR fan as well as being a dear friend, and is known on the Hoops and Dreams forum as Hastings Hoop. Sadly, he's been diagnosed with a serious medical problem, and I know the whole QPR community will care about Ian just as much as I do. And I'm sure they'll all wish him the very best with his treatment. Okay, let's progress before I get too emotional.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
All the
best to Hastings.
Yeah, good lad. As usual, we'll be looking to summarise the last three games, predict a few, and then chew over some topics. And my guest for this episode is yet another returnee. I'm delighted to have back Roger. Welcome.
Oh, thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we nearly didn't. Luckily, his audio is now working. So, straight on to the usual quick review of our last three matches. And for those of you who can't remember, or haven't been on this planet, Norwich versus QPR. That was on Saturday, the 25th of November. We lost that 1-0. And QPR against Stoke, the midweek game, we won that 4-2. Yes, we won that 4-2. And Preston North End versus QPR on last Friday, and we won that 2-0. Those league results translate into 6 out of a possible 9 points. Lovely to be saying that. But our league position is still the same. It's 22nd on 16 points, though, this time. So I'll give a quick summary of the games, and then we'll get into a bit of questions and answers, I think. Norwich play out from the back, just like we do these days. But they're also much further up the championship table than we are. And also they were at home. So this was a good candidate for a draw, I felt. But despite them only having one shot on target to our 3, their shot counted and we lost 1-0. Many Norwich fans went on record afterwards as saying that the best side lost, which I thought was very magnanimous of them. And I couldn't disagree, to be honest. We played better than them through the first 2/3 and then wasted chances in the final third. If only we could just score. But that is the problem. We struggled to do that. I said in the last podcast that I thought the Stoke match was our best chance of grabbing that much needed win. But I predicted a narrow 1-0 win, given that we just can't get any goals these days. However, the early penalty that was converted by Dykes was soon replaced by a 2-1 deficit. And it was not until the 78th minute that we drew level. That was after Stoke saw 2 yellows converted into a straight red. But still, Stoke were defending really well. Lakache came on for Colback, fought his way along the goal line to force an own goal in the 88th minute. And then Willock made a solo run in the 90th to beat their keeper superbly. It was a nervy but welcome first win at Loftus Road. And 668 days, apparently, since we last scored 4 goals in a match. That brings us on to our final match that we're going to be summarising. That was against Preston North End, who are probably even exceeding their wildest dreams at the moment. I had this down as a loss for the R's, based purely upon their league performances. But could the R's perhaps cause an upset? They could indeed. Goals came from a tumbling Smith and a Willock in the right place when we won 2-0. And this was on a frozen pitch that offered less than ideal conditions for the style of play that both of them were trying to play. I must also mention that Chair only came on at half-time, but was made Sky's player of the match. That is how great his contribution was. So, Roger, going back to the Norwich match, would it be fair to say that we were unlucky?
Yes, I think that we more than matched them in that game, and the goal that we conceded was quite sloppy, wasn't it? I mean, if they had had that sloppy defending, I'm sure we would have scored as well, even with our background of getting the goals. But I took comfort from the way we played, the way we attacked, and we carried on. And you've got to think Norwich are one of the bigger sides probably in our league, and the table doesn't lie, does it? So to come away there disappointed, we lost 1-0. I think things are looking good.
Yeah, I guess that brings us on to Stoke and Preston. Was that just a case of everything suddenly falling into place at last? Or was this a question of QPR's luck finally appearing?
Stoke, I had that game down as a nailed-on bore 0-0 draw. I really couldn't see any goals in that game at all, and how wrong was I? So pleased we got the win, particularly on that particular day because it was remembering Terry Venables as well.
Yeah.
So yes, we did get a bit lucky. Their manager, Alex Neil, his post-match interview. Yes, he wasn't very enamoured with the referee and some of the decisions. It probably was a soft penalty, but crikey, we're half due one, aren't we?
And it was still justified, even if it was soft, I think, mate.
Yeah, and then the same with the second yellow. But having said that, there were other times that second yellow could have been bandaged about. So yes, yeah, good to see that. And then the Preston one, that old cliche, game of two halves, wasn't it? The first half was just maybe it took a while to get warmed up because it looked a cold night up there. But second half, crikey, did we turn it around? What a performance that second half was.
Yeah, it's suddenly good to be a Rangers fan, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it, I must admit. Okay, let's move on to the up and coming fixtures. We're looking at three of these. The one on Saturday is QPR against Hull. They are sixth. They've got 30 points to our 16, and quite an impressive string of results. So, Roger, what do you reckon? Win, draw, or loss?
I'm hoping the wrong Hull turn up and we at least get a draw out of this game. That they do tend to pick up points around teams around us and then struggle with other teams in their positions. So I think their league position perhaps is a bit skewed at the moment. So yeah, I'll take a draw, 1-1.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, Hull are playing out of their socks at the moment. To be sixth in the Championship. Having said that, we're at home for this fixture, and I watched the last match against Watford that they played. They lost that 2-1.
Yeah,
and they were definitely no better than us.
No.
I'll be there at the back of Block E, cheering them on as ever, kicking every ball played. And I'm going to go for a draw on this one.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Let's hope it's a score draw. Keep our scoring going. Okay, so that brings us to QPR against Plymouth Argyle. That's the midweek one. They're 20th, so not that far above us on 19 points. Started the season really well and then have tailed off. What do you reckon, Roger? Win, draw, loss?
I've got that as a win for us, 3-1. They've got a habit of leaking goals, Plymouth. That said, they're very attacking, and that might just play into our hands, particularly in the second half. That's what I'm hoping.
All right. Well, maybe Swafantis will just leave Chair off until the second half again in that case. Okay. Sheffield Wednesday against QPR. That's the one the following Saturday. And Sheffield Wednesday, in case anybody hasn't realised, are 24th, thanks to their points deduction as much as anything else, on 7 points. They drew in their last game. So there is some shades of green being shown there. Roger, what do you reckon? Win, draw, or loss?
I think we're capable of winning this game. That said, I can see it being a scrappy 1-0.
Okay, well, my prediction for the midweek home game against Plymouth and the following away game against Sheffield Wednesday are that both offer good chances for wins. And in our current euphoric state, I think we should definitely be looking for wins. So let's go with that, mate. Okay, let's go on to the topics, which we tend to make sort of the most of these podcasts these days. It would be fair to say that we've struggled to get a win, but instead of one, we've had two appear. Can we say that the tide has now turned, Roger?
I hope it has. We've kept this attacking style, but I feel we've got a bit more threat about that attack now. And the support seems to be there for the players that got the ball, and the players seem to be encouraged to push on. My fear is I hope we don't get sussed too soon by other managers. We are attacking down both flanks. that's if Paul Smith has been great this season. Teams I've noticed have started doubling up on him or
Yes.
putting the odd dodgy tackle on him. I just fear the same could be happening for Chair if we keep him on the left all the time. So I just hope we mix it up a little bit. But as tie turning, yes. I think the fixtures have been kind to us in December and they've come at the right time. And then that follows on after Christmas. We got that weird month where we were at home every match.
Yeah.
So I think this is for the tide to turn. It's got to happen now, because if it doesn't happen between December and January and it's afterwards, we've got our work cut out. So, but I'm positive. Fingers crossed, Chair doesn't go off to the African nations. And Cifuentes, he's
as well.
And he seems to be. Well, he's had his hand forced on him with some of the injuries and suspensions, but the rotation seems to be really working really well. He seems to get the players buying into it as well. So, you mentioned about we're still, one off the safety. What's happened is the teams around us are picking up points kind of below us at the same time as us. But what's happening is the teams above us all seem to be dropping, and suddenly, instead of looking to try and catch one up, I think there's probably half a dozen above us now that actually are in grabbing distance over the next few weeks. So, future's looking rosy.
Yeah. I'm by nature an optimist, despite what some people think, which helps if you support the R's, of course, being an optimist. But 2 wins in a row is not proof positive that we are playing to our true potential yet. The next 2-3 games will confirm or deny our resurrection. So let's keep going and let's make something of it. And as you say, if we get 2 wins out of these 3, 6 points, I think will put us right up there in the lower part of the bottom. The lower part of the top bottom half. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So you're right, because teams there are getting only 1 point or no points. So there's potential there. So does this good form bode well for our FA Cup match against Bournemouth, do you think, Roger?
Who knows what's going to happen in the FA Cup? Who knows what team we put out? I suspect he's going to probably put out a weakened side, because there's a few players there that are on the fringe that haven't been getting games. I suspect he's going to use that. I've got mixed feelings. I would like a cup run, but obviously staying in the league is more important than the cup run. But it always feels a shame if we put a weakened side out and give up. But we're playing a Premier League side. Who knows? Bournemouth could have the same idea and put a very weakened side themselves. So good crowd. I don't know what's going to happen with the kickoff times, because I think there's a few games in West London or home ties, aren't there? So I hope our stays at 3:00 and we get a decent crowd and see what happens.
All right, that's good. Are there any players that you feel who have not really fully adapted yet to Marty Cifuentes' style of play yet, Roger?
Okay, well, I had to think about that, and I think Uncle Albert seems to have drifted away out of contention, doesn't he? Which, to be honest, is no surprise. But it's good to have him in the squad, and who knows? Bournemouth game could be where he next appears. But I think he's drifted down the pecking order quite a bit. I do feel for the young lad Drew at right back. I'm not sure if he's actually got on recently, but Cannon and Kakai seems to have raised his game with Cannon coming in behind him, putting a bit of pressure on the place. So, I do feel for Drew. And then you mentioned Lukaku. I'm not quite sure what his position is at the moment, because I think he's been playing in about 3 different places, isn't he? So,
I'm quite good.
Can't complain. But out of the squad, those are the 3 players that probably have been impacted the most, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest, I had doubts about Begovic adapting well to playing out from the back and acting as the feeder out and backwards on triangles. Because with the centre backs, he is key to that movement forward. But he's done a lot better than I expected. yeah, many of the others were used to playing like this under Beale and even Warburton. Those were there then. They quickly adapted back again. Players like Chair, Field, Willock, and even Kakai. Others such as Fox, Sinclair, and Richards, I think they've yet to have a lengthy enough appearance to determine if they've got the ability to do it. The one who surprised me, to be honest, is Lyndon Dykes. Not only is he adapted to the new style of play around him, he actually seems to play better under it. His flick-ons and back passes are connecting much better than they were before. And he seems to revel in chasing down balls a lot more. So anyway, I'm guessing that any who have struggled to adapt up to now will find their days numbered. But at this stage, I can think of no player who fits that tag. I mean, even Alba. I think if Smith gets injured, I can think we'll see Adoma coming back. What's pleased you most about the signing of Cifuentes, Roger? Do you reckon it's anything in particular?
Well, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to put my hand up. I was surprised when the name came out. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what team he was coming from. I just thought, oh, here we go again. Someone else. Yeah, we'll have him for 3 or 4 months and he'll be gone again. I'm eating my words. He's been a revelation. He's so positive. And you listen to him into his interviews after the game. He talks about wanting to win, not happy with the draws, and he's got the players working for each other. And sometimes a good acid test is when the whistle goes, seeing what the players are like afterwards. And they were really jumping for joy in the Preston game, weren't they? Even off the bench, not ones that hadn't even taken part in the game.
That's a good sign.
It is, isn't it? There's something healthy going on behind the scenes there with him in charge. Yeah, been impressed.
Good. I mean, for me, it's a question of playing a style of football that's both entertaining and effective. Okay, our hearts may be in our mouths at times when they struggle to get the ball out from the back when there's a high press adopted. But that leaves the players in the midfield able to dominate play wherever possible because of the high press. And then there is the not inconsequential matter that we are now actually scoring goals. It's incredible, really. I think we've done really well in that respect.
I still think he's trying to find his starting 11. As I say, he's had a lot of changes pushed on him, but he's moving players around, trying different things, isn't he? Which is nice to see. It'd be interesting to see if that's continuous throughout the season or whether that's just because of the situation at the moment that he's moving the teams around as much.
And he's going to have some of that. You're absolutely right with what you said before about when the Africa Cup gets going. We're going to lose 2 to 3 players, I think it is. So, that is going to cause a bit of pressure. And it will make it such that he will have to put people, stand-ins will be in there for a start. And obviously at some point there may even be some square pegs in round holes. The one thing, though, I will say, thinking about it, is that this squad really does adapt very well. You get Field playing all over the shop. As you said, Lukashi seems quite happy to play anywhere. He probably could be striker next week. But it really is impressive. And then at the back, you've got this solidness of Cook, and it certainly looks like JCS or Clark Salter will just also adopt that same confidence level.
He's really fitted in well when he's come on, hasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Cook is even though he's not the captain, he's still bawling away at everybody, telling them where they're going wrong. Field does the same in the midfield, and I know Jack Colback can't keep quiet, so he's driving them as well. It's all good signs, when you're doing this, and it's it's meant to gee people on and get them going.
Yeah, we've got some leaders on the pitch, haven't we? Yeah,
and it's got to be a good thing. Okay. There should be about now a sound of a ref's whistle at this point, as it's full time for this podcast. Many thanks to my guest, Roger. I really appreciate it. For coming onto this podcast and having to endure all this. It's great fun. We love technology, and Roger loves it even more than I do. I'd also like to thank my editor, Dave, as ever, for his work. It's always fantastic. And of course, all of you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, then do click on the subscribe button below and do add a comment or two. We will do our very best to reply. I'm Brian Fisher, and this has been a Hoops and Dreams QPR podcast. Come on, you R's.
Yes.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.